Did I miss her?
Well, let me go back and look. I did not notice that, but that may be the case, that you were eliminated. I don't know.
Something to say about
Comment on things.
She
even though
did.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
she was there.
I have myself in the comments section.
Okay. Good catch, Dr. Hartford.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we just needed you here.
With that, I move we
all in
approve him with
favor.
that correction.
So we have a motion to approve as amended. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this time, we will open the floor for citizen comments. These are an opportunity. This is an opportunity for folks to come down and comment for matters on the public record. We have our podium and microphone. We will ask that you come forward, state your name for the record, and please use the microphone. You have 3 minutes, and the floor is now open.
Hang on, I'm coming.
Oh, yes, sir. We won't start without you.
First, I'd like to say that I thank the city council for allowing me to have these moments. I came tonight to address the fact that my name is Jerry Williams, not just like I didn't know how I was, who I am. I pastor a church on Liberty, on 86 Lee Street here in Radford, Liberty Full Gospel Fellowship Church. And I wanted to bring it to the attention of the city council as well as the city manager and those that are here tonight that almost every Sunday when I go to church in the mornings, there's an apartment complex right behind our church. I believe their address is Montgomery Street. They have trash cans down there that are uncovered, and the possums and the groundhogs are biting holes in the bottom of the plastic cans. And those are still plastic. And they also climb in the cans and pulling the trash out. And almost every Sunday morning, I have to go down and lift all the trash. In this moment of when the COVID is so present, I feel like that's contaminating, not to mention it's embarrassing. I have to clean it up before the members or the guests even come to the church, and it's almost every Sunday morning. Needless to say that when the gentleman also comes to mow our grass, he has to remove that trash there. Also, furthermore, I've gone to Mr. Jarrett, who is the owner of the apartment complex down there, discussed it with him about 3 times, and he doesn't seem to want to do anything. He's even stated to me that he couldn't afford a dumpster and so forth. With all those units there needs to be a dumpster. I went to city manager, Mr. Redpath, and he told me to go and see the maintenance man out there at the maintenance department out there. I believe it's on 17th Street out there. I talked with Mr. Timmy, and he told me there was nothing that they could do at all about it. He also told me that he also called a gentleman from the back named Mr. Russell. He came back, he said that the gentleman up there needs a dumpster, a number 4-yard dumpster, what he needs there. Even though Mr. Jarrett says he cannot afford it, but because he has all those apartment units there, and I was told by Mr. Timmy today how much they will be charged each month for that trash to be emptied. Mr. Timmy also told me that if they go there and trash is laying on the ground, they're not allowed to pick it up, but if they pull it out of the trash can and put it in the dump truck, in the garbage truck, he said that they have to pick that up if it falls out of the trash can. And it's become a real nuisance, and I'm having to do it almost every Sunday morning. I've got pictures of it, showing it, and I'm really tired of it, and so is the membership. And something needs to be done. Not only that, Mr. Timmy also told me to go file some kind of a warrant against him with the police department, which I did today. And when I did, the police said they had not been faced with that before, and they don't even know what to do. So I'm asking the city council, please, sir, ma'am, whoever you may be, do something about it. I'm tired of picking up the trash, and I shouldn't have to do it. If I were going in the road right now, and I went to Sonic's and bought something like a soda, and I went up the road and asked the policeman about this today, if I threw it out the window and they saw me, they said immediately they would have to pull me over, and I would be ticketed for that. So why can't something be done about it?
Thank you, Reverend Williams. We will check on that. We will get that taken care of. We'll take a look at that. Is there anyone else who has a comment for the record this evening?
Hello, Georgianne Lavery. I want to start out by saying what an awesome surprise it was to see a commercial on TV for Radford's Mary Draper Ingalls Festival. It was a phenomenal festival, very cool commercial. As a resident for 25 years, I know the basis of the story of Mary Draper Ingalls. so I was excited to hear the storyteller at Longway Brewery. The actress did a fantastic job, but two parts made me think about the story we had always heard. She started her story with how the land that was settled was up for grabs, and she ended the story by describing her son, who was raised by the Shawnee, as uncivilized. After that night, I did some of my own research. I believe there is a perspective that is missing, a narrative that is intertwined with Mary's story, our Radford story. Many accounts of Mary starts with a massacre in Draper's Meadow in 1755, which leads to Mary's abduction. These accounts describe the Shawnee as warriors, savages, or even uncivilized. Tonight I want to tell you the Shawnee narrative in Mary's story. The Shawnee were an eastern woodland tribe that originally inhabited Pennsylvania, Virginia, and western Maryland. Some say they are descendants of the Powhatan Confederacy. The Shawnee reportedly settled in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia and are known for their widespread settlements. For this reason, their language, they spoke Algonquin, was used extensively for trade between many different tribes. This also enabled them to become leaders of the Native American resistance to the white man's westward expansion. The land of the indigenous people was steadily being invaded, beginning in 1607 with the settlement of Jamestown. The indigenous people up and down the East Coast fought the invaders from taking their land. In the 1600s, with the Anglo-Powhatan Wars, invasion by the French, and many of King Philip's and Queen Anne's wars prior to Mary's abduction in 1755. Just 8 years after Mary's abduction, the British created the Proclamation Treaty to appease the Shawnee. This tried to draw a line between the Shawnee and the whites by using the Allegheny Mountains as a buffer. Just 5 years later, a new treaty replaced this one, with the boundary line being pushed even further west. During these treaty negotiations, the Shawnee were not allowed a seat at the table. Ultimately, more white people poured into this area, believing there was land for the taking. Even more violence ensued. By the end of the 18th century, and many treaties later, the Shawnee were pushed west to Missouri and ultimately to Oklahoma, where they are today. In doing this research and putting a timeline together has shown me the Ingalls Farm, the ferry, and the tavern was the beginning of the indigenous people being pushed out. As a citizen of Radford, I believe you cannot fully tell the isolated story of Mary Draper without telling the whole story of all the people who have called Radford home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Do we have any other citizens that have a comment for the public record?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is William Ratcliffe. If you look at my tags on the car, it says Mr. B. Cat. I'm just here for a few minutes tonight. Just want to remind everybody that football is around the corner. The Radford High School Bobcats, or I like to call them the City of Radford Bobcats, will start their season on August the 19th in Pulaski. I believe it's 7 o'clock. I know when we played before, it used to be called Battle of the Bridge. So I just want to remind everybody that it's coming up quick. It is the City of Radford Bobcats. These are the young men of Radford. And you know, they will be the future of our city, and some will be the future of our nation. And I think as citizens, we need to come out if we possibly can and show our support to this young team that's out representing not only the high school, but it's out representing our city also. And I know last time it's been 50 years, 1972, since I remember the stadium was full of people. I think we held 12,000 for a state playoff game. And it's been years since the Radford stands has been that full again. But I know in the annual that I had, it was stated, City of Radford Bobcats Unite Community Spirit. And I think it's time for the community spirit to be united for these young men and sometimes young women that are out on the field giving their all for our city. Amen? So I just want to say, please everybody come out and support the Radford High School and the City of Radford Bobcats, which will be started, like I said, on August 19th in Pulaski. And I know they appreciate the support. I'm out trying to run all the community support that I can. And all I can say to end is go Bobcats. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. I think you'll get lots of cheers in that room on that one, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else who has a comment for the public record this evening? All right, seeing no one else, we will close that portion of the meeting. We do have an opportunity for council response. We'll begin with the Vice Mayor, if you have any response you would like to make.
I do briefly, Georgianne. I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that, and I think it's really important for us to acknowledge our blind spots. I had the opportunity, I was down on the farm, so I didn't have the chance to speak with or listen to the storytellers, but I'm glad you told us about that, some of that language that I think could be better and does not reflect the full story, so I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. While I was at various parts of the festival, I had the chance to talk with some people about one of my favorite rooms at the Glencoe is the third floor, where you do see so much of that Native American history that is right here in our community. And I do think that that's an important piece that we can do a better job of highlighting in conjunction with this. So thank you for your comments, Mayor.
Jessica, do you have anything?
Yes, a couple of things. To address the issue with the trash, we do have ordinances involved that I'm sure that we can look at to see if maybe there's a conversation that could be had, because we certainly don't want you to have to start your Sundays in faith picking up that trash. So I'm sure that's something we can revisit and talk to in a little bit more detail to see if maybe there's a visit that we can make to see if we can help remedy that for you. I was just actually going to kind of shadow some of the thoughts of Miss Naomi with Georgianne. So I think in history, there's always two sides to every story, and you can tell a complete story in time in this perspective, but miss so much about what happened prior or even after that. So this is something I know the mayor and I have talked about before as something that we probably as a community need to be a little bit more reflective on. There's always two sides, and so thank you for bringing that up. It is a story that has a lot of great complexity, and all that complexity needs to be shared with our community members. And the Bobcat football, my thought on that, and I know we were thinking about doing this last year, are we putting the Radford sports, like the Radford school system sports, on our page, on our city page? That might be another good place to capture some more of an audience by displaying all of the sports activities and their dates, if that's something we might want to consider doing. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Dick, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, back in 1971, if I can go back that far, we started the outdoor drama, The Long Way Home. And I was the director of that and wrote the scenario. One of the problems we had, of course, was you needed to start with dynamic action. So you couldn't do an awful lot of explaining up front. I insisted that all the Indians, Native Americans, spoke perfect English. I had to really force that on people, but I wanted the dignity of that to be there. Then we featured Cornstalk, who was a major chief, who was one of the most brilliant people I think that I've ever come across in history. And we had a special vignette on him to try to show the civilized nature of these people that were the Shawnee. So we were trying, but it's difficult when you're doing something like that to dwell too much on the detail, and it's unfortunate. The Newberry Valley was a common hunting ground. It never had a treaty. No one owned it among the Indian tribes, and so there was never a treaty. The king made land grants here, but there were no treaties binding those with the Native Americans. So that made it a very difficult situation all the way around. And that led, I think, to the massacre.
Thank you for that perspective. Charlie, I know this is your first meeting. We're going to introduce you formally in mere moments, but what thoughts do you have?
Well, I appreciate your comments about the storyteller, and it's interesting. I'm no historian for sure, but I enjoyed as a child picking up a lot of older history books and early anthropological studies. And there's a great tradition in European settlers and explorers and indeed conquerors to describe any peoples they encountered as savages. It was an unfortunate tradition, and it carries over in our language today, and it intones the idea that these were a rough people who needed to be calmed down. And I think that that's an important correction, perhaps, in the way we describe, original settlers. It's something we need to be reminded, and we need to continue to work on that. So thanks for pointing that out.
And I would just say thank you all so much for bringing those items to our attention. Please know that we will reflect and see what we can do to try to make that better. And I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to be better and be our best. So thank you all so much. And we do appreciate any time citizens bring things to the council and to the community. So thank you. As I said, we have a brand new member of our council, Charles Cosmo.
Well, so glad to be here. I know many of you. I have been here since 1989. I came to Radford, like a lot of folks who eventually became citizen residents, to go to school. And I graduated and never left. Visits to home in Roanoke became further and fewer in between. I met my wife, Patty, also at Radford University. We rented on 5th Street next to Went Barton and the Barton family, and we heard lots of stories about the early history of Radford. In fact, his father, at least the story as he told it, ran or worked at a general store that rented the forms that were used to build the block foundations of many of the homes you see in Radford. A couple of years later, we bought our first house over on 3rd and Preston. We moved next door to Billy Simpkins. His brother Lee was the fire chief here for many years. We got to hear his stories about Radford. And Bob Thomas, who was a newspaper man in town for many years, lived across the street from us. So boy, did he keep us informed about goings on in Radford. As fate would have it, as our family grew, we moved a few blocks further down the street, getting closer to the school as we went with our son Nate and our daughter Myra over to our current home at 6th and Harvey. And Jiggs Bruce was our neighbor across the street. He was a frequent participant in city council members for many, many years. And he gave his perspective on Radford University. And boy, talk about the Battle of the Bridge. He loved to talk about those games. And anybody who happened to be parking along the street there, he would eagerly help them find their way to the football stadium and regale them with all of his stories of great play. So I am a part of this community. It is my home. I'm so privileged to have raised my family here and to have met so many great neighbors. I am, again, an interim council person. I hope to help keep the wheels moving till we get to our election in November, and I will be proud to serve you in that time to the best of my ability. Thank you so much.
Can we have a round of applause for Charles? Well, with all that perspective, we're glad you joined us anyway. And I did want to just touch on the fact that we did go through a selection process. Charlie did submit his information. We had some interviews and discussions. It was a really great process to go through. Ironically, we had just completed this process inviting Dr. Harshberger back to join us after another resignation had taken
Mayor, thank you for that introduction, very kind introduction, and I'm glad to hear that you didn't set the 3-minute timer for me. I'm an academic, I could talk all night. Not gonna do that to the group. But I'll tell you, it's just been a delightful introduction to Radford. I mean, Kay and I are small town folks. We moved to Boca Raton because she grew up in Hawaii. I'm a marine biologist, so being that close to the coast was a great concept, but then you move with 8 million people. That's not small town America. So we are delighted to be back. Mayor, I even beat you to something. You're very good at getting online and announcing new companies in the area and saying they're coming. We got the first cake from Coconuts before your announcement. We're them. And there was no presidential pressure. This was just like, we forgot our son's birthday. She was awesome, and she got that done. But, in coming here, we have not just one, but 2 coffee shops now, right? I mean, each time I see those businesses opening, it's fabulous, and we want to help the university make that more effective for the town, the city, and even in our surrounding counties. And the Jeep has already been into the car doctors, by the way. It's going to happen with an older Jeep. You've probably heard either about me or through the news that I'm very interested in economic development. And part of this is just, as a university, we're a state entity. There's only so many dollars we get from the state, and every chance we get to use a state dollar, not just to educate our students, but to use that same dollar to leverage it, to increase the economic development of the area, that's a dollar better spent. And I mean, it may be $1, but dollar by dollar makes a difference. And the types of partnerships that are possible between us are really limitless. There's an amphitheater project that has been kind of on the shelf for both the city and the university, and I think we can work together to figure out how to make that work for both of us, because what's good for the university, right, that helps recruit our students, helps keep our students, helps bring our alumni back, that's also good for the city, because as we have more students, we keep more students, they are spending their dollars in the community, but also whenever we bring alumni back, that's also additional dollars coming into the area. As part of that signal for our seriousness of this, we have a new vice president at the university. For those of you that haven't met her yet, Dr. Angela Joyner. Now, she's been in the community for a few years working on career services and other, I will say, economically facing activities, but part of her presence really is that message that we are serious about trying to work with the city to bring in businesses. And there's so many reasons for that. For our students, Pell Grants do not cover the full cost of education. They just don't. So for students to be successful and even think about university, it's so much easier when you show them not just here's a pathway to a 4-year degree, here's how you can be employed in the city at the same time. So as we work to attract companies and industry to the area, providing internships, providing working opportunities for students for the 4 years that they're here, that's really important. That's not for every university. But for Radford University and for the students that we have, for the city we're in, that's a really, really good match. I would like to invite certainly our city council members, and I wouldn't say invite the mayor to campus, but a couple of you are on campus regularly. But if you don't know us that well yet, I would love to have the university show you some of its kind of the higher end programs that it has, what it does for distinction that's different from other entities, because as you learn about those, you contact a lot of other individuals and you can help that messaging about the beauty of the city and the community working together. And with that, actually, Lisa Gadati, who's also here, she's on the end. For those of you that haven't met her, she's our government relations individual. In other words, she kind of helps represent the university generally in the state capitol, but also in DC. But also, she is now going to be our connection to our local government as well. So you will be seeing more and more of Lisa. Remember, it's about communication. It's about stretching our dollars so it's the best for both of us, and it's making the best university and city in partnership we can. And I look forward to working with you on that. And I don't know how long that was, but I didn't get buzzed, so I'll take that as a win. Thank you.
resolution authorizing the name of Mr. Green's Way. Whereas pursuant to the City of Radford policy for naming facilities approved and adopted by council on September 13th, 2004, and supplemented on March 13th, 2006, it is the policy of the City of Radford to honor individuals that have benefited the city by extraordinary efforts with investments of their time, talents, and/or financial resources. And it is the policy of City Council to consider naming proposals, seek citizen input, and formally decide on proposed names or renaming of city public lands or facilities within established criteria. And whereas the school board recommendation was brought before council to consider naming the drive entrance for McCarg Elementary in recognition of Mr. Josh Green as a McCarg Elementary School employee for 37 years, coming to work with a smile on his face every day, investing in the lives of Radford's children, and dedication to the city of Radford, Virginia. And whereas the council of the city of Radford is of the opinion that naming the drive entrance for McCarg Elementary Mr. Green's Way is consistent with the naming and dedication policies and procedures of the city pursuant to the City of Radford policy for naming facilities approved and adopted by City Council on September 13th, 2004, and supplemented on March 13, 2006, and that no public inconvenience will be occasioned and therefore wishes to do so. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Radford, Virginia, that the drive entrance to McCarg Elementary is named Mr. Green's Way in honor of Mr. Josh Green for his service and commitment to Radford City Public Schools, support and love of the students in Radford, and dedication to the people of Radford, young and old, pursuant to the authority of council provided for in the City of Radford policy for naming facilities, and the city manager is authorized to arrange for appropriate signage or placard be provided for the naming of the street as Mr. Green's Way. Adopted this 8th August 2022 by Radford City Council. Mayor and council, I would like to make a motion that we approve this resolution.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think that deserves a standing ovation. Let's bring up Mr. Green. Council, come on down. Come right over here, and I believe Ms. Walker has a solution for you over there on the other side, and I'll help you hold your sign. And thank you for all of the years. You're every kid's best friend at McCarg Elementary School, and that will continue on. Thank you so much. Once again for Mr. Green. Bring the whole crew.
See everybody?
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll send it to you. I'll just send it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think we are so fortunate to have so many wonderful people that are part of this community that make a difference every single day. And we can't say thank you enough to friends, old and council members, we do have some business we have to take care of. We have a resolution for the Radford Transit Title VI plan. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act provides non-discriminating efforts by the city of Radford to ensure its programs, policies, services, and other activities are available and accessible to all individuals. Since we have a new provider, RTW Management, they have been contracted with the city to operate Radford Transit. The Federal Transportation Administration requires us to update our plan for Title VI. So a plan has been updated and submitted. Council members, have you all had a chance to review it? Dave, do you have any comment on this, any thoughts?
Just the main thing that's triggering that is just the change from utilizing services to RTW management, and we are recommending that you approve each time this would happen with that the upgrade.
Absolutely. Are there any questions? Council?
No comments. Sorry. Yeah, it has been open for public comment period now for several weeks.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Up next, we do need to talk a little bit about personal property tax and tax relief. So the state of Virginia, for a number of years now, has provided tax relief to localities, provided to their citizens on a portion of their personal property tax, primarily based on what is known as the car tax. The percentage of relief on qualifying vehicles is established for each tax year and is based on an amount that's established by the state. Currently, we have $625,657 for the city of Radford. To reach this amount of relief,
regarding fee. Would that need to be accomplished by September 1st?
Well, that's a
Or
question
could
that
that be
we
done
have.
at a different point?
That's a question that we have. We think we need to have it done by September 1st. We can follow up later in September with a resolution supporting that, but that is a fee and not a tax, so that could be done through simple motion should we choose to. David, any thoughts on that?
That's correct. That's our understanding. Everything has to be done by September 1st for the assessment piece of it to be completed according to state code. And you go back 20-some plus years ago, the city used to have a $25 decal tax. You paid just the $25 and you got a decal that went on your car. That went up over the years to the 25. Rather than have to print the decals every year and deal with that, we just decided to go to a blanket. Everybody that had a car in the city paid the extra $25 and was just considered, it was considered part of your tax bill associated with your car. And that's how we got to where we are today.
And so that 216,000 we have included in our upcoming year's budget as expected income.
A portion of it, yes.
A portion
We
of
did
it.
not know, the $25 is included, but the whole amount that cars have gone up, of course, nobody knew that new cars were not coming out and old cars, used cars were going to climb in value because people needed them during that period of time. So that's part of what happened historically to the valuations that we have now.
And I can't give you an exact value because that is still being finalized, but as we appear to know, it appears that it's going to be about 40% higher valuation on the vehicles, so that translates into the tax being similarly high as well.
So what we were thinking about this is we go ahead, because you can't really mess with the 34%.
Correct.
That the state has set that. So we would go ahead and do that, but then based on what people pay using the money from the decals that don't exist,
Right.
we would then prorate.
They just would not be charged for the decals. There would not be a decal fee this year is what I'm.
Oh, I see, that's what it is.
Just to eliminate it for this year. Yes.
Okay, so it would be the same amount for everybody.
Correct. Yeah, this is very difficult to try to parse out because a very expensive vehicle that's several years old could have appreciated differently. If you purchased a new vehicle, certainly you know what tax you're getting into with that. It's a complicated subject, but my concern is we do have residents who are struggling. That inflation has been a significant issue. This will likely not come to people's attention until they receive the tax bill sometime this fall. And so it's incumbent upon us to be intentional if we choose to be. This is something we can do. It does appear that the amount of tax we should receive will be significantly higher than what we've already budgeted for, even excluding the $200,000 for the vehicle. Having said that, I'm just proposing a one-year holiday on that this is something we would continue to explore and revisit next year because we really don't know where valuations will be a year from now.
Well, and I do think that, while my vehicle may be worth more this year, it's not like it's a resource I can sell and replace without paying more for. And so it's really putting folks at a disadvantage, and my concern, it's going to hurt the folks in our community that are already struggling to keep up with the economy. I think the very least we can do is waive the $25 fee. I actually wish there was more that we could do because even though it's an asset raising in value, it really isn't when you just use common sense because you can sell it, but then you got to replace it. So I would absolutely be for offering some relief this year.
Yes, I think this is, although small, an anti-inflation step. And I think anything we can do, even though this is a small thing to do, to cut inflation, I think is worth it. In this case, we can afford it.
I have two thoughts on it. First,
I do remember many years ago being of the belief that when you bought that decal, it was a really expensive sticker to let the police know that you had paid your taxes. That's how I perceived it as a young man. While it seemed like a really expensive sticker that signified not much of anything, I could swallow that and suck it up and pay $25, even though it was hard. In the absence of the sticker, it feels like it's an opportunity to pay a fee for the privilege of having already paid a fee. So if we can eliminate that, I think one thing we do is provide really good optics to the community that we're cleaning up something that's a silly fee in the first place. And secondly, yes, it does provide a modicum of relief, because if you're a recent student living in the city, sometimes $25 is enough to make life just a little more bearable on that one day. And the second thing I was thinking is is there any way that folks can see how the evaluation of their vehicle is going to be assessed?
Only once we've completed the
Okay.
process, and that's when the bills will be mailed. That's the hard part about that.
Yeah.
And this is a challenge, and I'm so appreciative of our Treasurer's Office, the Commissioner of
Yep.
Revenue, for the work they do with this. And I've had extensive conversation in the last 3 or 4 days about this to try to find a way to ease what they're likely going to experience once folks are like, oh, I didn't know my car was going to be reassessed
Sure.
this year.
Yeah.
Because normally with those reassessments, it's typically level. It's usually down a little bit.
Yeah.
You find out, okay, my car's worth, $5,000 last year, $4,500 this year, and so on. So this is just a little way, and certainly we can get the information out there that the assessments are taking place. Now, the assessments are being done fairly. The Commissioner of Revenue works through a process to say what is a fair market value for these vehicles, and they do the very best they can to assess based on that. And it is a long-standing process for many years. It's just this year is a very strange year.
Yeah. And I suppose anyone who's been in the market for a used car already is aware that some cars went up a lot this past year. Some did not. My wife, I was surprised after she was driving her car for 2 years, got a call from the dealership offering to buy her car back for more than she had bought it for. I doubt that my 200,000 mile Chevy truck has accrued in value. However, if anybody would like to buy it for $10,000 more.
That's how we're going to fund this $200,000. Well, I just want to see if anyone has any additional questions, and I apologize for the swiftness of this. Yes, of course, we could find another way to use $200,000. There are many needs we have, but all things considered, with everything going on, I'm trying to think about the citizens of this community first and foremost. Is there anything we can do to provide at least a little relief? Because there's many things where we can.
And I think we've always been very cognizant of the fact that with any tax that we're asking folks to give us their money and assume that we have a better way to spend it, then they're going to spend it in their homes, and we've been very conscientious about that. And I certainly think at this point, that $25, as Charlie said, is just really important to a lot of folks right now. So I think it's the very least we could do. It'd be nice if we, we're going to, it's not really deduction because that tax rate is higher. And so it's so much higher that if there were other ways that we could explore, and I'm not sure what those would be,
I
but
asked if there was a way to limit it to say 9% or 3% or some other rate, and it's not that way.
It's just not gonna happen.
Because a different vehicle will have a different valuation. What mine goes up may be different from yours, may be different from our neighbors. So that's the complexity of it all.
Yeah, I think, Jesse, you make a really good point about how we are trying to be very intentional when we are discussing these matters. And, I do think about the flip side, which is that our costs as a city have gone up as well. And so that's the only concern that I have. But so I want us to be clear that there's a degree of certainty that this is not going to cause any kind of holes in our budget that were unanticipated. Now, it sounds from what the
As
conversations
far as
that
we
you've
can
had,
tell,
it's not
yes.
going to.
Yes.
And that's not 100% guarantee, but
There are
it
no
certainly seems to
guarantees, correct.
fit with
Yes.
our everyday experiences and what we're hearing from
Right.
those
We have,
conversations.
if I could say, we have a windfall here based on an aberration that you just talked about in your wife's case. I don't see us getting a windfall on the backs of our any more than possible, on the backs of our citizens, our taxpayers.
I'll be 100% honest. You're exactly right. There's a chance that doing this, we could have some unexpected costs that we have to address. That is always the risk with everything that we do. From what I can tell, it does look like we should receive more revenue from this tax to begin with, far more than we're going to give up with this decal fee.
It's lockstep.
And I think this is a way to at least give the citizens a little bit of relief where we can. It's very challenging, and I don't have an easy answer, and I can see the points all across the board. Unfortunately, time is of the essence, information being received when it's received, and we move forward from there. So I will listen to any additional commentary before we move forward. I'd like to address the resolution for the personal property tax relief before we go into the actual decal fee, but is there any additional discussion relating to what we're potentially proposing for decals? Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the tax release resolution as presented this evening?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I would like to make a motion that for 1 year, we take a holiday in the decal fee that is charged to all residents with a vehicle in Radford. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
That's $25.
It's $25 per vehicle.
I'd like that added into the resolution.
Okay. Jenny, are you getting all that? Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and thank you all. And honestly, I don't like having these things come up so quickly. I appreciate the consideration. This is one of those things we just had to address quickly. I do think this is the right call to make, and certainly we can monitor things over the course of the year with our spending. This is not something that I think is going to majorly impact our budget. So I think we're going to be okay. And I will own it if it does. Let's put it that way. All right, friends, we do need to look at appointment. Well, before we do that, I have one more proclamation. We are so fortunate in this community to have a group of people who make sure that our residents have what they need to eat, that they have a place to gather and have good fellowship, and that they have folks to go and check on people who need a little bit of additional assistance with the Meals on Wheels program. Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread has been in existence for 30 years. They have served thousands and thousands of people and have done such an amazing job. We wanted to mark that occasion this evening. So Dr. Hirschberger, if you wouldn't mind sharing a resolution.
Yes, I would just say, anybody can go there for a meal and are never asked for their qualifications for having a meal. Proclamation. Whereas the Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread has organized volunteers to come together over the past 30 years to serve free meals every weekday to anyone in need in our community. And whereas in 1992, the Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread was founded by a group of citizens concerned about the problem of hunger within Radford. And whereas in 2021 alone, 35,548 meals were served in and to those in need by the Daily Bread through Meal on Wheels, midday meals, and emergency food boxes. And whereas many groups and individuals collaborate and volunteer, ensuring the basic needs of individuals in our community are met. And whereas the Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread is a nonprofit organization which provides a valuable service to our city with their volunteer work. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Radford, Virginia, does hereby proclaim 2022 as the 30th anniversary of the founding of the Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread, and encourages all citizens to support and recognize the efforts of the Daily Bread, giving to those within the city and surrounding community in need, and in doing so, further enhancing the living conditions of all residents of this community. Mr. Mayor, I would move that this resolution, which you have signed, be adopted this August 8th, 2022.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. We have a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Can we ask our representatives from Daily Bread to come down front, please? And we'd like to present you with this resolution. Thank you. so much money has been given to support the Daily Bread program. So
May I embarrass you
appreciate
by
that.
asking how much has been given?
By the end of September, it'll be $12,000.
Thank you all so much. It is so important that our community takes care of each other. We say thank you to all the volunteers, to all the people who have helped all these years, and we're so appreciative and excited for the next 30 years. And to Keith and the friends along the way, thank you all for being their new landlords and having them in such wonderful facilities. We appreciate it. Okay, friends, we do have some boards and commissions with vacancies under old business that we need to look at. First, with Forest Heights resignation, we have 2 council appointments that need to be made, New River Valley Community Services and the Recreation Commission. Charlie, we've not had a chance to discuss this, but how would you like to serve on NRVCS and the Recreation Commission? Absolutely.
Oh, wow, I'd love to share that opportunity with somebody.
I don't hear anybody else volunteering.
What I will say is that Flores had a chance to talk to me about both of them. He enjoys them quite a bit, especially the
I'm interested in recreation. My wife found out that I couldn't do the other. She probably didn't, obviously, remember she's been a social worker most of her life.
So I think I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Cosmato be appointed to both NRVCS and the Rec.
Second that.
Okay, do we have any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
We are a railroad.
I know. Maybe this is why we keep losing members. I don't know. Maybe this is why.
In the interview, we warned you.
I hear something rumbling down the road.
Now, we appreciate that and thank you. So all council members have service on multiple boards and commissions, and we are appreciative of Charlie taking on this role, and thank you to Forrest Height for his service to those boards as well during his time. Council members, we also have several vacancies on some additional boards. Doyle Barton, after many, many years, gosh, David, decades of service to Pepper's Ferry,
30 years at least.
has stepped down citing health concerns. We already had a vacancy on that board. This is a particularly tricky board. The Pepper's Ferry Wastewater Authority needs folks who have a little bit of experience with that. So if it is amenable to council, unless you all have someone else in mind, David and I thought we could serve in temporary appointments to fill that for the time being. And then once we find full-time citizens who might be interested, we could work on that, if that's okay.
That'd be great.
We can do all of these together as we get to the end, but if that works for council, Mr. Ridpath and myself will serve in those roles on an interim basis. And part of this is we had someone serving on an interim basis from city staff. They have relocated to where they're not eligible any longer. So we are both residents of the city. We qualify, so this takes care of that. We'll get that in good shape. And I will report back to council as we go. And certainly if we find someone, if there's someone in our community who would love to work with Regional Water, we would love to have you be a part of this program.
And we have a very good reputation, don't we, Dr. Harshbarger? He likes to talk about our
The best water in
water.
Virginia.
We have the
You
best.
water anywhere.
The reason
See?
I tell this to everybody, but the reason this city has the best coffee in the Commonwealth of Virginia is because of the water. How many gold awards have we won here? We won it this year.
5
And
gold
last-
and 1 bronze.
5 gold.
1 silver, excuse me.
1 silver. Didn't we have a platinum
5
too in
gold
there?
and a platinum somewhere along the
There
way.
we go. You can't beat that.
I-
It is good water.
He feels very passionate about this, so.
This is wastewater though, too.
Yeah, I know.
Well, first it was good water.
Don't,
Oh, you had to say that.
don't make your coffee out of that.
I didn't want you to.
Okay, council members, I serve on the Beautification Commission as council rep. We need some additional members. Do we have any additional nominations for beautification?
Have we gotten any additional nominations?
I don't
Or
think we've
any-
had
any
anybody express any
recommendations?
additional interest. We're working to, but we got a lot going on, so if anybody is interested, we would love to have you serve on beautification. How about Highlanders Festival? Do we have any nominees? Do we have anybody you all would like to move forward for that?
Really striking out.
It would be really nice if folks in the community volunteered, so we didn't volunteer them here in open
Yeah,
session.
that's true.
So it would be really nice as we go through these, if anyone's interested, to give us a call, just because if not, I mean, you see the railroad, right? We'll hook you right up to it, or at least put your name out there. So I think, maybe at this point, let's just unless someone has already spoke to someone, maybe let it be known again, some of the
Put it back
vacancies.
out there.
Wonderful opportunities for volunteerism.
Jenny?
The Highlanders Festival, if we can, Kim usually is like that tourism rep.
Yes. But she's on there, isn't she?
But they are yearly appointments. So
Okay.
we need to make sure those like staff reps get reappointed and then.
So
What-
Kim
what-
and Donna both need to be reappointed. All right, I'd like to make a motion, we appoint Kim Repass and Donna, gosh, why did Donna's last name escape me? Wolf, that's right, Donna Wolf, from the rec department to the Highlanders Festival Commission.
This is what happens when you don't show up for these meetings. You get
I
volunteered.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we have any nominees for the Planning Commission?
Yes, we, last time, I believe we had 3 openings, this in the July meeting. And I mentioned that all 3 people who were up for reappointment were excellent on planning, and I hope that they would be able to stay. We also, however, received an application from Bart Castleberry. If he remains interested, I remember we all thought that he was a very good candidate.
Yes.
We just didn't have the spots.
Right.
So now we have the spot, so I would,
So we have a nomination
as
for
long
Bart
as he
Castleberry.
remains interested, I would nominate Mr.
Okay.
Castleberry.
So we have a nomination, any additional nominations? Do we have a second?
Second.
A nomination and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think that brings up a good point. We have had situations where we've had more people apply than what we've been able to appoint. It might not be a bad idea to kind of go back through those names and see if they might be willing. If not, it wasn't the one they initially expressed interest. If they have that heart of volunteerism, maybe there's something else that might capture. Because you're
Absolutely.
right, there's been several times where like this is such a hard decision. We want to wrap them up into something because they have so much to offer. So
Exactly.
maybe let's look back through that.
Absolutely.
Has there
And
been
finally,
any-
I'm
Has
sorry.
there been anybody from the Joint Commission who has stepped forward for the Highlander Festival?
I don't think so yet.
I don't think we've ever. no.
Yeah, we've had a rep, Rob served that role.
Yes,
I
he did.
know, I thought Rob was just council's rep, but I guess he was both.
He was both,
on both.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, at your September meeting, do you want to ask and then
I
we
will.
can appoint someone? That sounds good.
Yeah, we'll get an appointment in the September meeting.
For our Board of Zoning Appeals, do we have any additional nominations?
And just remember, that's a nomination that we send to Judge Showalter.
Yes.
And, Naomi, that might be something you, as the planning commission rep, want to talk to Melissa about.
Yep.
That's because Tracy has stepped down from planning.
I
Right.
was wondering where that came from.
That's his planning commission rep
Right.
on that. So it
Okay.
would be the planning commission.
Okay. If we could pass that one over, I'll
Yep,
speak with
that
Melissa.
sounds good. Okay, folks, that was good. Now, under new business,
Wait, I need actual motions for you two. for
oh,
Pepper's Ferry.
well, would someone like to make a motion for myself and Mr. Ridpath to serve on the Peppers Ferry Regional?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We are working on bringing passenger rail to the New River Valley. And as such, we are trying to plan an authority to govern the station and the passenger rail activity that will take place. So with this, we're working with the state government, the regional commission, all of our area governments are working on this piece. And we're trying to finally determine the station location and what the station will be built like. I am currently serving on regional commission. That is a central part of this. David has worked with this for much of his career. If it pleases the council, this is another one of those that it makes sense that David and I might serve at least initially on the Passenger Rail Authority. It is a 4-year appointment. So this would be something that potentially we could do to get us going. and then we would see where we go from there. So if there's a motion to do so, we can make that happen.
I was actually going to suggest that, given that you're the most likely of any of us to be here in 4 years.
You never know what the write-in
So
is gonna be.
I would make a motion that you and Mr. Ridpath both serve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We good, Jenny? You're good. Okay. And then finally, we are looking to replace a section on our public library roof. They do such wonderful programming, we need to make sure they're taken care of. And of course, everything does cost a little bit more than we thought. The lowest responsive bid was received from John T. Morgan Roofing and Sheet Metal Company in the amount of $105,849 with a 20-year warranty on the roofing system. David, any comments on this?
Great bid, less than we had budgeted for, which is always a good thing, and this will take care of a very important need at our library. Obviously, we don't want anything to get wet down there. So-
20-year warranty is very good,
Yes,
too.
and the other two sections of the library roof, you may recall, have been replaced within the last 10 years, so
So
it
do we-
didn't make sense to do everything, we just did what was necessary, but the other has still got another 15 years left on it.
Do we have a motion to award the bid to John T. Morgan Roofing and Sheet Metal Company?
So moved.
I just have a quick question. How long have they been in business, do you know?
Long time, they put the roof on Glencoe.
Yeah.
Okay,
The original
good.
roof, so
30
that's.
years.
All right, good.
Yeah.
I like when they have
Yeah.
those
Oh, yeah. They've been around a
long-term,
while.
commitments. I like to make sure they have a
And
long-term
they're
of
very
history.
experienced as fabricators, so if they run into a problem when they take the roof off and there's metal
Perfect.
that's deteriorated, they can come in and fix it. 'Cause
Okay.
There's a possibility it could run a little bit more if they find something underneath, but
Sure.
they've got the experience either way.
Okay,
They're very
thank you.
good.
They're very good.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the bid, to award the bid?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Council members, well, actually, David, what do you have for us this evening?
Just a couple of quick things. The East Main Street project is continuing to advance in the planning side. Survey work is just about completed, and once we have something in hand, hopefully sometime in September, we may be able to do a work session, latest October, to kind of give you an idea of where we are and the next steps in this process as we approach winter months and planning for next year, spring construction on some things. Our community is going to be growing a whole lot over the next few weeks. Rapp University students are gradually returning. Apartments changed over the 1st of August, so we're starting to see a lot of new faces in our community, so we want to welcome them as the return occurs. I think it's going to be over a 4-day period of time, move in from the 16th to that weekend. We'll have a community all looking good for their return and special activities. Also, look at our website, number of events still left before the end of the year. We've got a car show on Saturday in the park. The movie is next Friday.
This Friday.
This Friday night, and then concert the following Saturday. So a lot going on, and of course the farmers market's still doing great. Vegetables are really rolling in now, so stop by there. And then we have had some difficulty. We do know pavement areas need striping. 232 is in terrible shape. Part of Plum Creek getting paint, and we've hired a striping company to come in and do that for us. Getting materials has been an issue. It's hard to believe that paint's hard to find. So as soon as that comes, they're going to stripe immediately. So we're hoping sometime in the next few weeks. We wanted it before the students all move back, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. So anyway, in case you're asked,
Thank you very much.
that's it.
Naomi?
I don't think I have anything this evening. Thank you.
And
We don't need-
no closed session tonight.
No,
Don't need
I
it.
knew that. Yep.
We don't
Yes.
need a motion on appropriations since it's already part of the budget for the roof.
No,
No, it's already in the budget.
It's already in the budget.
Thank you
Good
for
to go.
catching it, though.
Thank you, though.
Jesse, what do you have?
Yes, I wanted to ask again, we talked before about having the leadership from the Arsenal come in, and I know they were scheduled, and then it's fallen off again.
Yeah, let's get to 3 times.
Okay, well, maybe I'll make an appointment and make a visit, so I would volunteer myself for that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can
So-
get them here, that'd be great.
Well, I can get there. I don't know if I can get them here, but I can get there.
But they were willing to come, they did have some complications, so.
But we scheduled a couple times, though.
We
and-
just haven't.
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
haven't-
So we need to I think the community, because we do live so closely and there's an impact, to the community, I do believe that the community needs to hear their voice and know who their leadership is. So I will volunteer to reach out and maybe make an appointment for that. Okay, thank you. I'll get on that, and I'll follow up with council. I just had a shout out for the farmers market. I am eating so much better and healthier. Okay, that's not all true, because they have great bakers there too, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless.
Fresh baked is healthy.
Yes, it's fresh baked, no preservatives.
I go by the bakers like that.
Yeah. The other thing is, I want to welcome our newest citizen. My mom just moved here from Illinois, so that's a big deal to have her close. And with that, she's only been here a day, and her companion dog got loose today, got out of the fence on Wadsworth and created quite a stir. So I just want to send a heartfelt thanks to the chief, the officers, the animal shelter for rescuing patty cakes.
Good job on patty cakes.
Good job. So, like, no joking aside, this, with someone going through a lot of change, this put our family into crisis, which is why I was not here promptly at 6, because we were in crisis. But
Fortunately, we have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on what?
which is obviously always obeyed, so we have that. But anyway, I just want to just say to everyone who took care of patty cakes for us, we truly appreciate that, and be on the other side of those services. It really, truly, thank you to everyone, and please extend that. And so with that, and with the students coming back, I will be doing my write-outs again. We are a little bit more active once the students are here, and every 3 months I do try to go out and do write-outs as well as visit the firehouse. And so if anyone on one evening, since we can't be together in threes, if anyone wants to plan that with me, I'd be happy to have the company, and it's always a learning experience. Truly, there are so many everyday heroes out there, and these guys and gals never disappoint. So if anyone is wanting to do that, let me know. We'll get together. One thing that we always talk about is, like, when you're in the community, actually, we go by things and we see things, but we no longer look at things. And so we're always saying to the community, if you see something, if there's a particular pothole that's on your nerves, give us a call, because, we may be going over it every day and it's a matter of routine. So as an example, I'm going to bring something up. I do my walk around town, and by Bell Heath, the sidewalk, there's some overgrown brush. And so I would just like to bring it to the attention of our city manager. They might look at that. You have to walk in the road to get around. And so these are the sorts of things that we're looking for, and I will tell you, yep, they're very, very responsive. So these are the kind of things we want to know about, those everyday inconveniences. Sometimes we look at them, but we are like everyone else, we forget to see them. So please let us know of those things. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you very much.
And welcome, Charlie. We're excited to have you on board, and we're going to try to at least not let you run away for the end of this term. So thank you for volunteering to do that. That's a really big deal, and I know there's very little time to kind of get a learning curve, but I have absolutely all faith that if anyone could step in and be an asset to us, it would be you. So thank you.
Thank you, Jesse, and thank you all of the city staff who gave me at least 3 weeks of reading material.
You're supposed to have it done by tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry. Dick, what do you have for us?
Just on the 19th, we are very fortunate. A new book has come out, The Wharton's War. It's the letters of Anne Wharton and her husband, General Gabriel Wharton. And this is a fantastic book, just came out, and we're going to have the authors here in this room on the 19th at 5 o'clock to give a talk. Now, Dr. Jack Davis, who is the author of the book, along with the great-great-granddaughter of General Wharton and Annie Wharton, is a wonderful speaker. And it's going to be streamed, thanks to our wonderful people over here who are going to stream that on the 19th. So you'll also be able to get it on YouTube. Streamed YouTube. So I just mentioned this. This is a great opportunity. So, and he is a fascinating speaker. I can tell you that.
Charlie, you have anything else? All right. I want to say thank you to everyone who helped make Mary Draper Ingalls Weekend a massive success. Thank you for working at the farm. Thank you for working with the different programs. Thank you to Longway Brewing. You know, this was a wonderful community weekend. I had so many people from out of town tell us how charming it was and how wonderful it was and what a great experience it was. And even talking about telling the story and how we talk about that experience. This is a continued evolution, and we can continue to grow, and it gives us more opportunity to tell the story of the Native Americans that were here prior to the settlers coming to the area, to provide some of the nuance of the complexities of that transition period and some of the things that folks went through. But nonetheless, to tell the story of Radford, to tell the story of the journeys of the many peoples who've traveled through here, and including our Native Americans, our early American settlers, and so many different folks. It's an important piece for us to work on and a really neat opportunity for us to celebrate in this community. I also want to thank the members of the Heritage Foundation for their work on the Mary Draper Ingalls Cultural Heritage Park. Certainly that has been a wonderful asset for the city that has been further enhanced. But thank you to everyone for all the hard work you've done this summer for concerts and shows and movies. I don't know why I just got louder, but I did. Something happened. But thank you for all of that. We do have an additional movie this Friday night. And then a week from Saturday, as David mentioned, we have our final concert of the summer series. And it is our spiritual concert. So folks can come out. All of our churches are certainly invited to participate. And hopefully that will be a wonderfully attended show and just continue the great tradition of these shows. Hopefully we will not have the rain that we experienced with Cassette Rewind, but we will have the wonderful enthusiasm and spirit. Dick, did you have something else?
Just one other thing. Since we had this talk tonight about the story, the 6 episodes that my wife, Kathleen Harshberger, recorded and put on both. They're on both the Chamber of Commerce website and on the Glencoe website. Those 6 episodes lead for 6 weeks leading up to the Mary Draper Ingalls Festival are still up. So if you want to see any of those, you want to check some facts, you can go ahead and do that.
Thank you, sir. And that's all I have for the good of the order this evening. Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say good night.
Good night.
Good night.